Now, there's a connection here as well, and that's with Tom Jenkinson, has written a piece for James. And you are somebody I would not say was a traditional sort of composer for organ. That's fair enough, isn't it?
I'd say that's a fair comment.
Yeah. Would people know? Would Radio 3 know you about the Squarepusher?
I mean, I'd like to think they would.
Do you all know about Squarepusher? Yes. Say yes.
See?
Yes.
Case closed.
So it's a new piece for James, and it's how would you describe it?
Well,
it's a melding, obviously, of techniques as well as styles.
It's primarily coming from the standpoint that I want to try to expose some of the sounds of the organ that we don't hear so regularly. It's trying to get away from the organness of the organ, if you like, trying to kind of look at the subtleties, the nuance, the delicacy. In particular, I'm attracted to the flute stops. I think it's
and
a
static
wonderful.
Also, it's all this about you being attracted to static.
Static.
All those old radios where we went along the dial. You could.
Oh yeah, well that was a sort of formative part of my interest in sound, I suppose. That was one of the sources from which I suppose I derived enjoyment of sorts. Yeah, it was. I mean, the shortwave has a particularly sort of interesting character in that respect.
I'm just looking at our audience to see if they've ever found that.
Try it out. Believe me, it's worthwhile.
Well, that's really sharp. That's subtle listening.
Let's say it's a sort of maybe it's something for a rainy afternoon, but in all seriousness, no, there's a fantastic variety of, as it were, unplanned sound. That's something of the attraction for me. That it's incidental, but still. Yeah. And if nothing else, that seems to only accentuate it.
Yeah. So, are you doing traditional organ with all this sort of melded in?
Yeah. I mean, the Tom's music is. We were just talking about it before coming on here. I mean, I play a lot of new music for the organ. I also play a lot of repertoire as well still, and these are very traditional organ pieces. I mean, I was in Leeds Town Hall preparing for one of the 5 concerts we have coming up, and found that I was on very, very familiar territory with registering this music on this beautiful Victorian organ, and it's wonderful to come across brand new music, which. As a performer, I don't write music. I get people to write it for me. It's the sort of next best thing.
You do lots of variations. I bet you do.
That's right.
A lot of.
Well, I mean that's
extemporizing.
I do. Yeah, I have to do that when playing in liturgical context. But actually, the process that we've gone through to try to sort of divine a physical way of playing this music has needed some. Slight alteration from me, which has been really interesting.
I think we just need a statistical sample. This is Star Time 2. Are there any signs we should be looking out for?
I'd approach it like I approach it. Just let it hit you and see what you think.
Just our audience will have very good musical ears. We've decided that's what it is now. You just don't have a musical ear, you have both musical ears.
At least one of them is musical.
At least one of them
I'm working on this one.
So if you pay attention, ladies and gentlemen, here it comes. There's music by Tom called Star Time. He's also called a Squarepusher as well. Where did that name come from?
It was something which appeared to me, and I take this approach to titling music as much as I took it to titling myself. It was a word which appeared to me suggestive without confirming all that much. It seemed to be open to interpretation, and that's been shown to be a sort of relatively good intuition, because many people have come to me and said, yeah, so Squarepusher means that you're into pressing buttons on boxes, or it means this, or it means... And it seems to me an interesting term, and very much resonates with my approach to things, which is to keep things open, allows not try to sort of direct interpretation. Really.
What do people call you? Do they call you Square or Tom?
Tom.
Tom.
Well, it depends what. Yeah.
I just wanted to get it right, just in case I should say Mr. Squarepusher.
Like.
Oh, that's the music. That's sort of, what your music usually sounds like. I think the piece that you're involved with, James, is very different, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the piece is really in two halves, made up of 8 movements, and the first 4 are very beautiful, evocative, sort of Gothic landscape, really. And I keep thinking that this sounds like a forgotten French composer writing in the mid 20th century.
Unjustly forgotten.
Well, unjustly forgotten.
Quite. And then the second part is very, very much more virtuosic, and I have to say that this is by far the hardest music I've ever had to sort of absorb, really, technically speaking, and that's saying something, really, because I played quite a lot of, I played basically all the
Well, you're
all the
doing
organ repertoire.
in Birmingham, you're doing here in Leeds as well,
That's
aren't
right,
you?
yes. So we have a wonderful tour that's been put together by our friends at No Nation, and we're at Birmingham Town Hall next week on Tuesday, and then here in Leeds again on Wednesday, then the University of Sussex Meeting House in their chapel on Friday, the Colston Hall in Bristol on Sunday next week, the 10th, and then we're finishing up in the Union Chapel in London.
Oh, that's a nice big space to fill. Well, thank you very much indeed, and we'll commission a piece for the next time.
You must.
Yeah, okay.
No, I'm all ears.
I want a part.
I'm kind of just getting the hang of it now.
Yeah, I'll get a part. I'm not quite sure what part. I could do sort of hassling part in it somewhere.
Hassling me?
Hassling you.
Crikey,
Well, I won't hassle you. We'll hear a little bit of Mutilation Colony, and that's new piece, isn't it?
That's actually from 2002. I chose
classic
that.
piece.
Yeah, this is. I don't know if you remember. It was #1 at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems unlikely now looking back. 2002. I jest, but it's the piece of my repertoire where I feel that there's at least a relatively strong resonance between the music that James and I are working on.
Thank you.
And
thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.